All right, welcome back, Truth Seeker. It's a beautiful but nippy day out here. And in 3 days, it'll be the day we call Thanksgiving in the United States of America. And a lot of Americans use that day as an excuse to eat more than they should, eat things they probably otherwise wouldn't eat. You know, maybe on that day you go wild, you have a few pieces of pie, maybe even a piece of cake. Maybe later in the day, a piece of cheesecake, some cookies. And then, you have a stomach ache. And you say, well, you only live once. Man, that pie and that cake and those cookies and brownies and whatever else you had, man, they were delicious. It hurts, but man, was that good. And again, this attitude we've developed about food that so many people have, where it is just like that, like I just explained, it's not an adult mentality, It's amazing how much better care the average American takes of their car than they do their own body. And realize, essentially, we are an organic machine. There's no day of the year where the man who loves his car is going to go out and, do something that he knows is purposefully destructive to his car. Unless maybe he's really into off-roading and he wants to take some risks because he's also a thrill seeker. But we do that with our bodies. We say, well, for this special day, I'll do this. And I mean, we also do that on our birthday. I mean, probably if you looked at the day that's probably the most harmful to the human body based on what we do to it outside of a holiday like Thanksgiving, it's probably our birthdays, because people are getting sloshed and putting way too much alcohol in, which is also terrible for us. But it's funny how on these special days we'll absolutely trash our bodies. And the thing is, most of us, we don't even understand how our actual body works and what actually happens to, the blood in our body and the different fluids in our body, depending on the foods and the beverages we put in. Because at no point in our 13 years of education did we get a proper lesson on this. And even myself, as someone who's tried to learn about nutrition and understand what a good diet is, I mean, I found out in the last year that I was relatively ignorant on matters, and I didn't realize that my whole life I'd been giving myself headaches based on the way I was eating. I had too many carbs in my diet, which breaks down to sugar, which can trigger headaches, and it does for a lot of us. And I didn't realize I'd been doing this my whole life by simply putting in too many carbs. I was never big on sugar or processed sugar. I just went to check my mirror and I forgot my mirror's knocked off. Getting crazy, Donna crashed into us. Mirror's blowing in the wind right now. Hopefully it stays on there. But, the wind's got the mirror up at an angle. It's drifting with the wind here. But, First day to get the car back into the body shop since the wreck, so that's where I'm on the way to now. And living in the small town, the body shop unfortunately is 30 miles away, so we'll take it easy going there so the mirror doesn't blow all the way off. But coming back to the food and nutrition thing, if you missed yesterday's live stream, shout out to Mo. Mo left a comment and he said, I tried out the autophagy thing. I've already lost 25 pounds. I'm off my blood pressure medication, and I'm no longer pre-diabetic, according to my doctor. I mean, those are three huge pluses, and this is just about, a month and a half? Not even a month and a half since I talked about it. It's somewhere between a month and a half. I was talking about this subject of autophagy a lot through the first half of October. So somewhere in a 4 to 6 week window, Mo in our community has already made these tremendous improvements. Again, 25 pounds lost, off the blood pressure medication, and no longer pre-diabetic according to his doctor. And I mean, those are three things right there that are just so common in America. I think the average adult American is taking medication for blood pressure and for cholesterol. And all of these things are so avoidable with just a few tweaks in the diet. And again, just a little bit of discipline. Again, if you guys missed all the coverage of autophagy, Let's again emphasize what autophagy is. And if you're going to feast on Thanksgiving, if you're going to go crazy on Thanksgiving, because that's just what you do, try and do it the autophagy way. If you're going to eat 6 pieces of cake and 2 pieces of pie and some cookies and brownies and ice cream and all the other food you're going to eat, if you're that person, you get extra paranoid when people are making lane changes, when your car's already falling apart from somebody wrecking into you. But if you're going to be that person, try to do it the autophagy way, because it's not going to be as detrimental. Again, autophagy is eating in a small window of time that allows your body to go through the process of autophagy, where it essentially cleans itself. So again, you have to eat in an 8-hour window or less to trigger autophagy in your body. And you have to be able to make that calculation. What is an 8-hour window? If you eat your first meal at 9 in the morning, you have to be done eating by 5 p.m. Can't cheat. You can't eat at 5:30 p.m. Your body needs at least 16 hours of not eating to begin the autophagy process. And again, if you can go longer, the autophagy is more effective. So if you can get it into a 6-hour window, if you could wait till eat like brunch at 11 a.m. and then have your last meal done by 5 p.m., that's a 6-hour window. Your autophagy is going to be even more effective. Autophagy is the period of time that your body is not being fed by an outside food source. So what it does is it needs to fuel itself, so it eats your own body, but it eats the things. It's smart. Your body is very intelligent. It eats the things that don't need to be there. It will eat disease, cancer, illness, anything in your body that does not need to be there is what's going to get eaten up first. It'll start eating your excess fat. That's the only advantage of being really fat, right? If it's a fallout situation and there's no food, the person who's, I'm scared now. If I'm next to somebody who's super fat and there's a fallout, well, then neither of us get to any food. That's the only situation where it's going to be more beneficial to have all that extra fat. They're going to survive longer because their body has this fuel source to eat. So again, all things good and bad, but ultimately carrying all that extra weight, as many Americans do, it makes your heart have to work harder each day. It can lead to a lot of disease and illness. So being overweight leads to a premature demise in the long run. There's only one scenario where it's better to have that excess fat. And again, that's if it's fallout world and there's no food source around. So anyway, if you're going to go crazy on Thanksgiving, you know what? This week. So by the time I'm doing this, I'm eating in an 8-hour window, I'm eating in a 6-hour window. And again, if that's too hard at first, you can build up to that moment. Not all things are done overnight. If you're the type of person that snacks all around the day and you're probably eating from when you get up in the morning till when you go to bed at night, and you're eating in a 16-hour window instead of an 8-hour window, say, you know what, this week I'm only going to eat in a 12-hour window. I'm going to get down to 12 hours this week. Next week, I'm going to eat in a 10-hour window. I'm going to get down to that 8-hour window. Your body can move in phases like that, one step at a time. One step at a time. That's the thing about our bodies. We train it to be a certain way. We become used to it a certain way. Now, again, for the person out there who thinks this sounds hard, you do not have to reduce the amount of food you eat. You can eat the same amount of food that you're eating. It's just about eating it in that 8-hour window. Then you're giving yourself 16 hours to essentially filter, clean out the system, have proper digestion. You're not overworking your system. Again, if you think of yourself as a machine, imagine just stressing out a machine all the time. You have a machine in your house. It's meant to be used. It's meant to be used each day, but it's not meant to be used around the clock every day. It's meant to be used in that period of time, that's normal. And what should be normal for us is eating in an 8-hour window, but we're not used to thinking about it that way because there's just an abundance of food everywhere, and it's so easy to get food, and until recent time, food has been relatively inexpensive in this country. So again, I really do think that this is the biggest health tip out there, the whole autophagy thing. Getting yourself disciplined to be eating in that 8-hour window, and you got to figure out what that works with your schedule. I mean, the reason that's difficult for a lot of people is because you're going to work at 9 and you're getting off at 5 or 6, and you're trying to eat before you go to work, and you're trying to eat when you get home from work. So, I mean, if you're eating before you leave at 9, let's say you're eating at 8:30 and then you're out the door, and then you're getting home and it's after 6, you're getting your meal ready at 6:37 p.m., you're finishing eating at 7:30, well, the whole 8-hour window is thrown off right now. Hold on one second, you guys. Okay, apologies. All right. So if that is your dilemma and you feel like you need to eat before you go to work and then you got to eat when you get home after, you got to switch up your window of time. And probably the best thing to do is make the switch of not eating in the morning. And if you're so hungry in the morning, you know, what I find, the best trick for me when I'm hungry but I can't eat is just keep myself busy. If I'm busy, I forget about needing to eat. I get focused on the task and I lose my hunger. That's always been my trick. And in a way, I don't even know it's a trick. Kind of just like the lifestyle. When I used to teach, there was just like no time. I was like up late working, get up early, get to school early. I was just so busy. It's like there wasn't time to eat. I ended up eating 1 meal a day after I got off work. You know, my lunch break, I'm helping out students during the lunch break. There's just no time to eat back in the teaching days. I think that's when I really developed the lifestyle of not eating most of the day and just eating at night. But realize, if your first meal of the day becomes lunch, so let's say you're eating at noon, and then you're getting off at 6, you're getting home, you're eating by around 7, you're doing it then. You're eating in that 8-hour window. You're making your first meal lunch and your last meal dinner. And that might be hard at first if you're not used to that, but once you get used to it, it just becomes normal. Your body's adjusted, and now you're eating in a lot healthier way. Again, you guys, if you need the motivation, I mean, you know, sweet lady last night was watching a video about a man in New York, how he ended up homeless on the street. And his story was sad, like so many people who are homeless. His wife was dying from a very expensive illness. They spent all their money trying to save the wife. The wife died anyway. He was $85,000 in debt after they'd already sacrificed everything to keep her alive. And then he became a drug addict after his wife died and ended up on the street. And sadly, there's a lot of stories like that in America. People who lost everything to try and stay alive because of how expensive healthcare bills are. And the thing is, I mean, the majority of the health problems we bring on in our life, it's from abusing our body and you know, drugs, alcohol, cigarettes, toxic food. Almost everything that everyone's dying from in America is preventable. Imagine if in 5th grade, and I say in 5th grade because I used to be a 5th grade teacher and I used to teach my students things like this, but I would point out like ways to not fall into the pitfalls of what happens to so many Americans. And a huge one is health expenses from not taking care of ourselves. And again, look at the stats. The average American in the last year of their life spends 90% of their health expenses for their life in that last year of life. 90% of healthcare expenses for the average American in the last year of their life. And again, those bills are monumental. And a lot of times they get passed on to the surviving family members. That's why they say an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. So anyhow, think about these things. Don't let these things happen to you that happen to almost everyone in this country. And if you're the person out there who's got the attitude of, well, I'm already poor anyway, and you know the government's going to end up paying for it, that's a bad attitude. That's also why America's a dying place and has so much debt. You know, it's crazy how many government programs they have to pay off the bills of people who took unnecessary risk, and it's in all sorts of. It's not just poor people. I mean, look at all the Donald Trumps of the world who've had to use taxpayer bailouts 1 million times over for their failed business ventures. I don't understand why these programs exist. To me, if you blow all your money and lose all your money in a failed business, guess what? You probably don't belong in the world of business. I don't know why taxpayers need to foot the bill for you to make up for your failures. I don't understand how these programs ever came to be. teach people responsibility and how to take care of themselves and not get into debt, to not fall into the pitfalls that so many people do. I mean, that's what our society should be about. But of course, we live in this giant financial Ponzi scheme where debt's a big part of it. And, you know, this debt allows these banks to print this much more money and blah, blah, blah. Fractional reserve banking. Anyway, whole nother topic. But okay, autophagy. Autophagy. That's a big piece, but of course it's not the only piece. The other thing, I'm just amazed. It's just like, God, like I've never been the guy to be spending my money on chips and soda and candy and all this stuff. It used to be cheap, so I could understand why more people did it. But God, even though things are so expensive now, I still see people's carts full of soda and chips, and I'm just like, man, God, soda's super expensive now. Chips are. It's just, not only can you be saving your body, you can be saving so much money. I mean, I see people's carts just full of junk food, and I'm like, how do they even afford it? God. But seriously, pay attention to how much you're spending on these junk food items that just do nothing positive for your body. Nothing positive. Save your body, save your money. Develop that mentality. I mean, or, you know, start doing a tally of how much money you're spending on these things. How much money are you spending every month? Are you spending $200? Are you spending $300, $400? I mean, add that up over the course of a year. Could you have not eaten that junk food and saved $5,000 this year? I mean, $5,000, that's a great down payment on a lot of things. If you ever wanted to take that trip to another country and see another part of the world, you could have done that instead. I mean, get over the idea of satisfying your taste buds. Realize that's it's a short-term thing, right? That delicious chip in your mouth, it only lasts for seconds and then it's gone. And now it's in your body and it's not doing anything good for you there. Again, we need to develop more adult thinking. Be wise in our decisions. We need to value these things, you know. By the way, just coming back to the autophagy thing, I got to make a point clear again. In the period where you're not eating, you can drink fluids, but they cannot have sugar and cream and all that crap in them. That will ruin the autophagy period. So don't think like you can't drink juice in the morning. You drink cranberry juice, you think that's healthy? Well, that just ruined the whole autophagy thing because it's got sugar in it. You can drink plain tea. You can drink plain coffee. You can drink water. All of these things are perfectly okay. But you put sugar in it, you put cream in it, it's over. You ruin the whole autophagy thing. And that's another trick when you're hungry. You know, drink fluids. Drink a plain coffee. Drink a plain tea. Drink water. That going in your stomach will buy you some time for your hunger. And again, once you get in the routine of doing these things, it'll just become normal. Your body will be adjusted. It'll be used to waiting and eating in the window. But okay, autophagy, cutting out crap food. That's another huge piece. Because look at foods in two categories. There's one category of food where when you put it in your body, it's medicine. Make food your medicine. There's another category of food where when you put it in your food, it's not medicine at all. It's the kind of food that leads to disease, illness, cancer. It's the kind of food that ages your body. You know, there's two categories. And the thing that's funny about life is a lot of the things that are bad for you, that, well, I guess it's not so funny. Again, hey, read a book like Fast Food Nation. I read Fast Food Nation when I was a late teenager. It came out around that time. Eric Schlosser is the author. And he just talks about how much money these companies spend, the millions of dollars spent to develop these flavors that are addictive and just really excite your taste buds. But they're not good for you. You know, it's meant to make you an addict to that food product. And again, you know, your government's subsidizing these companies, which is the other thing. And your government's spending all this time telling you, don't dare smoke weed, it'll kill you. But then subsidizing food that literally is killing you and is way more addictive than weed. And then, of course, the downside of weed is, you know, certain strains will give you the munchies and you'll be eating a lot more of that crap. But the point is that the government's very selective on the things that it tells you are bad and then the things it endorses. And let's not forget, our government also spends the majority of its agricultural money on sugar and creating corn that becomes high fructose corn syrup, which is more sugar, which is even more harmful for you. So again, and what I tell you guys at the beginning of the pandemic, I said it's laughable if your government's acting like it cares about your health, because it doesn't. All right, so I know. Make sure we're still on here before I say anything. I find it strange it's cutting out now because I'm almost to the big city for the area, which is the Tri-Cities of Washington. You would think the coverage would be better out here. But again, vegetables. Dark green vegetables are the things that cleanse your body. Other plants and vegetables are too, but I mean, just so few people in America eat dark green vegetables. Broccoli, kale, spinach. These foods are essential foods. Again, and just nice little signs like cilantro and parsley. Those two things are inexpensive and they have cleansing properties that most other foods don't have. You got to put foods in your body that are cleaners. The autophagy can really help cleaning, but then it's like, you know, like when there's the advertising, like this fuel additive, put this in your tank, it'll clean out the deposits in your tank. That's what the dark green vegetables are for our body, for our engine. They are the things that go in and they create good bacteria in our intestines and they make sure we're healthy, you know? They improve digestion, everything, you know, the rebuilding of proper cells. You need these things in your body. And again, fermented foods. Shout out to Fermenti. You know, he's been advocating for years about the importance of fermented foods. Fermented foods also give really good bacteria to your intestines. And they just, you know, they keep things moving along nicely. You know, keep you healthy inside. Fermented foods, kimchi, sauerkraut. Thought my mirror was going to blow off. Kombucha. There's other fermented foods, but those are common ones. And, you know, some people really don't like any of those things, but the more you eat them, the more your body. I remember, again, you guys, I'm not vegan anymore. I'm not even vegetarian. I'm not saying you have to be that. I think ultimately I would like to be like that, but I try to eat the same things as Sweet Lady. We did vegan for a while. She decided she needs some meat in her diet, so we do get some meat. But again, if you don't like certain foods, again, mind over matter. You tell yourself, I need that food because it's good for my body. I'm trying to make it more about taste. After you start eating it for a while, you begin to acquire the taste. It doesn't bother you anymore. It's not triggering your gag reflex. You don't think it's gross. It doesn't smell bad. It just becomes something that you eat. You know, a lot of people hate mushrooms. Mushrooms are another great food source for you. Mushrooms have great nutrients in them, high in protein. Another miracle food source, mushrooms. And some people think they're gross. And I think it's because just like mushrooms get a lot of like negative press in our society for a lot of different reasons. So I think people kind of, and we refer to them as fungus, and we start thinking, oh, fungus is bad and gross. But mushrooms, again, they're a food where if you chop them up real small, if you just cut them up real small and put them in with whatever the rest you're eating, you won't even notice they're there. You know, cut it up real small. You'll see what I mean. It'll just blend in with everything else. And getting close to my destination here. But yeah, again, vegetables more, junk food less, autophagy, make it happen. I mean, if you do these things, like if you're someone who's routinely taking Tums and heartburn stuff and Alka-Seltzer and Pepto-Bismol, that means there's something severely wrong with your diet. If you're farting and burping all the time, There's something wrong with your diet. If you have really bad stinky gas, there's something wrong with your diet. This is your body telling you these things. And again, you got to take notice and say, you know what? I don't like being so gassy. I mean, look how many commercials, if you watch like the nightly news, pretty much every drug that's being promoted is relating to diet. There's so many things about heartburn and bad gas and like commercials about people being embarrassed by their gas. It's because almost everyone's putting toxic crap in the body. And I mean, that's why these things are what's on the news. I mean, almost everyone is having these problems because everyone is making the same mistakes. So I'm just keeping an eye on the mirror. I'm going to have to put duct tape all over the mirror. I should have done that before I got out here and drove out here. The car hasn't really been on any long distance trips since it was in the accident. But, yeah, those are the big three things you can do. Again, autophagy, I'd say go for number one, because the thing about autophagy is you can find the discipline to eat in an 8-hour window, or at least a smaller window of time than you are now. As long as you move closer and closer to that 8-hour window, you're doing something positive for yourself. And again, if you can get it below 8 hours, you're doing something even more positive for yourself. If you can get to that 6-hour window where you're eating your first meal at lunchtime, let's say noon, and you're done by 6, that's even more impactful. And you might find yourself in the dilemma that I found where, well, you know what? I was reading that somebody who's 5'10", which is how tall I am, I'm 5'10", it says the optimal body weight is 150 pounds. And I knew that from a long time ago. I read that a long time ago, and to me that seemed too skinny. Because I've always weighed about 165 since I was in high school, just working out, exercising. I always weighed around 165. But these days, I cannot get over 145 pounds. I feel like it's a little on the skinny side. If I was working out and had better muscle mass right now, I'd probably weigh about 150 or so. But since I got into this really disciplined autophagy thing, my body just wants to be right there right now. And I'd say the missing component is, again, I'm not working out enough, so the muscle mass can be better. But again, in the year, we've been doing this for like a year now, I've lost 20 pounds. And I didn't realize I guess I didn't really necessarily need to lose any weight, but I even lost 20 pounds that I didn't know that I had to lose just from eating this way. So again, if you're way overweight, so much weight is going to shed. And again, you have to be true. You cannot lie to yourself and other people. My mom, I was talking to her the other night and she's saying her knees hurt and stuff. And I keep telling her, I say, Mom, you got to lose weight. You got too much weight on your body. My mom's, she says she's 5'2". She's somewhere between 5 foot and 5'2". She left a comment. She's like, I'm 5'2". She wants every inch that she supposedly has. But anyway, she doesn't ever lose weight. And again, I don't mean to pick on my mom, but she's not honest about her eating habits. She's not honest about her eating habits. She's always making excuses. And I was just talking to her last night, and she's again talking about the knees, and I'm like, well, Mom, you got to lose weight. She goes, well, I'm eating so healthy, the weight just stays on because I have a slow metabolism. And I say, Mom, I know how you like to snack, and I know how you like to eat late at night, and you eat breakfast early in the morning, and you're snacking until you go to bed. And she's like, no, I'm not. But anytime I'm there, that's exactly what she's doing every time. And she's insisting I eat she makes so much food, you guys. Her portions are so huge. They're ridiculous. And she says, it's just, so my mom is not honest about her eating habits, which is why she never loses weight. You cannot lie to yourself. You can't heap up a mountain of food on a full plate, all covering at all edges in a big pile, and wonder why you're not losing weight. She overeats, and she eats all day. And she might be eating healthy stuff, but the thing is, she's overeating. She's over-consuming. Okay? So that's the other thing. You cannot be putting in too much food. Way too much food. When I go to Mom's house, She'll heap up a huge plate of food for breakfast, and then she'll make a protein drink on top of that. It's like, my God, there's already too much food on the plate. Now a dense drink of protein? She's like, well, breakfast is the most important meal of the day. That tired phrase. Again, remember what breakfast means, you guys. It means break the fast. And it's that fasting period where the autophagy is happening. So wait longer to break that fast. But yeah, you cannot lie to yourself. And I really wish my mom would stop lying to herself, because I would like to see her lose weight, you know. But again, I mean, you have to have the discipline, and you have to be honest with yourself too. That's the other thing. So you can't lie to yourself. You're only cheating yourself. And I know my mom's always been dishonest about her food habits since I was a little kid. And I've told this story a bunch of times. You know, she'd go off and sneak an ice cream shake and not want anybody else to know, because then she knew, like, I'd want an ice cream shake, and she'd just pretend that she never had an ice cream shake. But it's like, well, Mom, you left the cup there with the ice cream residue all over the cup. I know I didn't have that ice cream shake. So, yeah. Again, if you are used to eating certain amounts, if you just get the autophagy thing down, you should still lose weight anyway. But again, getting the portion control under control can also make the big difference. So, yeah, I guess 4 things there to really think about. 4 things to really think about. Getting the autophagy window, cutting out the junk food, getting more plants in the diet, and then also getting the portions under control. And if every year you're used to just going wild on Thanksgiving, you know what? Make this be a year where you're more disciplined on Thanksgiving. You know, instead of 5 pieces of pie and cake and cookies, 1. You know, do 1 this year. And I'd also just try to get those habits out. I mean, you don't need to eat cake and ice cream for your birthday, especially if you're 40 years old. You know, ultimately, it would be better to never have those foods in your diet. And that might not sound like it's any fun, but those foods aren't good for you guys. It's not good to ever really spike your blood sugar like crazy, and those foods spike your blood sugar like crazy. It might not give you a headache every time like it does someone like me, but it's still not good for you anyway, you know? It's hard on your body. It's taxing on your body. Oh, gas prices must have gone back up. I'm jealous of those East Coast gas prices right now. All right, guys, I'm gonna get off here because I'm almost to the auto body shop. Actually, as I say that, here it is right here. All right, I'm gonna get off because I have arrived at the destination. But yeah, you guys, shout out to Mo. Shout out to anybody else. If anybody else has tried it besides Mo, I'd love to see the feedback. And I think a lot of comments of positive feedback from trying these things, it might inspire more people to do it. You know, it doesn't take pills, diet pills, all that. It takes discipline. It doesn't cost any money. You'll be saving yourself money. You will be saving yourself money if you eat healthier, if you eat in that window, if you don't abuse your body. You'll save your own body and you'll save your own money. I mean, 2 big incentives right there to do it. So, leave it there for now, True Seeker. Thank you to the person who just gave the super chat. I did see one just come through. Where did it go? See if I can thank that person. You guys are leaving a lot of comments. I thought I just saw it come through, but thank you, Logan Thomas. He says, color of that slick jacket going as hard as you are, bro. You think so? Sweet lady got me this jacket last year. That was my Christmas present. So, anyway, appreciate it, man. You guys have a great day. I might do another stream on the way back. For all of you guys who have a Netflix subscription, I think the movie, well, it was rated #1 last night. Sorry I didn't do the Sunday night show last night. Sweet lady wanted to spend some time together. You know, I from now on, for years, you guys, I've told Sweet lady, like, oh, I got to stream right now. I like doing the live streams with you guys a lot, too. I care about the community, but, for almost 10 years, I've put Sweet lady off on a lot of nights to live stream a topic, and these days when she says she wants to spend time together or watch a movie, I tend to just say, okay, that's what we're going to do tonight, because we are getting older, and, you know, she's been super patient. And so anyway, we ended up watching a movie last night. We watched a movie called Where the Crawdads Sing. It was #1 on Netflix, and it deserved to be #1. A lot of times I have some trash movie up there that's #1. But I think I want to actually talk about that movie for all the young ladies that might be out there, because I think that movie has a really good message, actually. It's kind of another movie about badass women, but which is the huge trend in Hollywood. But this movie's actually, I think, really good. It's one of the better movies I've seen in a while. And there's a lot of, and it's not just for women. There's just a lot of things in that movie, little things, that I think are the right lesson. Rarely does Hollywood put out a movie that's just full of the right lessons. So I think that movie has a lot of right lessons in it. When I drive back home, I might do a live stream talking about that movie. We'll see. All right, you guys, have a great rest of your day. And until next time.